Hello everybody and welcome to another episode, just make sure I'm not peeking, here of Ed Dale Live. Welcome. I hope you had a great Labor Day week if you were in the US, bank holiday in the UK. Nothing much down here in Australia, but it's great to be back. I've had a very interesting last few days. First of all, I was at a workshop with Dean Jackson that he conducted here in Sydney with James Franco, and that was a really interesting thing. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the insights I got out of that one, and also had the chance to speak with at the Pro Blogger event up in Queensland on Friday and Saturday. So that was a really fantastic event to do as well. So that was a lot of fun, and it was great. But now back at the desk, we've got a lot to talk about in this episode. Going to talk about, got an interesting question in my Facebook group, Digital Success Elite, and humbly titled, of course, about stickers and the upcoming iOS 10. And I thought that's a very interesting topic. I'm going to speak about that, and you're thinking, what's stickers got to do with anything, Ed? Seriously. But it actually is a really big deal. And what's more of a deal, and this I think goes across the board, and again doesn't matter if it's your Android, iPhone, whatever, is the changes that mobile have meant in the way that we communicate and what that means from a marketing perspective. I think that's really important. So we're going to be talking about that. And of course, as always, we're going to be asking and answering your questions. You're going to be asking, I'm going to be answering your questions at any time during the week. You can drop in to live.eddale.co. That's live.eddale.co, and you can leave a question, and I'll do my best to answer as many as I can each week here on the show. Also wanted to mention here too, one of the great things about actually getting out from the desk and going to see a bunch of people is it was wonderful at the Pro Blogger event to run into so many people who got their start in the challenge many years ago. One of the keynote speakers at Pro Bloggers event, Natalie Sisson, the suitcase entrepreneur, she came up and in the elevator actually and introduced herself and said how the challenge was one of the things that started her off on her very successful journey now. And I was thrilled. There was a lady came up to me and with a sort of her daughter, and she said, "Ed, I want to introduce myself and thank you because you put her through university." And that was amazing. She'd found the challenge, her business had collapsed, and she'd been able to start an online business, and it put her daughter through university. So very thrilling to see what goes on. And of course, the challenge is all new, all fresh, and available completely 100% for free during on all times. You can start at any time, and it's a great way to get started. All right, so let's have a look. So let's, of course, one of the things that happened while last week, while I was away, was, of course, Nerd Christmas. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about there, it is, of course, the launch of the new Apple iPhone, the iPhone 7, and the new watch, and various bits and pieces. Now, doesn't matter whether you've got an iPhone or an Android phone or whatever, there's no question mobile has changed the world. And in particular, when it comes to the sheer number of people that indeed have iOS devices, it's sort of incumbent upon us to make sure that all of our stuff works on iOS, and that, now we were discussing this at the Dean Jackson event, how when you're creating a site, when you're creating an opt-in funnel, when you're creating anything, you should be looking at it and testing it first on mobile, because the vast majority of people will be looking at that on mobile. If you send them an email, they're most likely to be looking at that email. They're most likely to be on Facebook. All of this, what the stat just released last month from Facebook, 94% of people now are accessing Facebook through their mobile device. So it's a really big deal. And just to emphasize this, Akamai, who's the the sort of the cloud infrastructure group, which is responsible really for all the online video that you see, apart from Google stuff. Anything you see, Super Bowls, sporting events, the Olympics, you name it, they stream it. All big rock concerts, the whole deal. Okay, and they actually just put out a press release saying that the keynote address from Apple was the largest ever streaming event. So if people are interested in this, it behooves us to make sure that we understand what is going on. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was this question about stickers. So let's go to my screen here. And I'm just going to show you, and for those listening on the podcast, and thank you for all of those of you who are putting in ratings on the podcast. It's really much appreciated. It's funny, we were talking about at Dean's event how important podcasts are as part of a strategy. There's no question your best clients, your best fans are people who are listening to you on your podcast. So it's a wonderful thing to have you all here. So what I'm actually showing here now on screen is just the iOS 10 page on Apple's website, and it shows all of the new features of iOS 10, which is coming out, most of you listening to this, it'll be coming out on Wednesday. So that's pretty exciting. And one of the things that you'll notice here is that most of the new features of iOS 10 are revolved around the Messages app. And there's a really good reason for this. If you think about the apps that you use the most on the phone, they are messaging, right? The way, how do you speak to friends now? If you think that do you call them? Do you send them a letter? Do you fax them? Do you email them? And the answer, of course, is no. Or do you call them? No. You text. You use some sort of messaging app, and there's no question that messaging has taken over the world. And it's only going to get bigger, and you can see how important Apple thinks it is, because there are literally all these features, message bubbles, and you listen to this stuff and you think, oh God, please, really? Message bubbles? But the reality is, Joe and Jane Smith love it. Right? You may think it's a load of toss, but trust me, Joe and Jane Smith love it. That's why Snapchat has taken off. That's why Facebook Messenger has taken off. This ability to express emotions through text and pictures and images is actually a fundamental change in the way that we communicate. Because what was one of the big problems with email? When you sent an email, it was pretty much impossible to convey context. How many times have you gotten into strife with one of your friends or a work colleague when you've sent an email and the tone that you meant was not the tone the message was received in? How many times have we had that? And people think you're angry when you're not angry, or people think you're upset when you're not upset, or vice versa. They just miss the whole communication. And that's why imaging is actually a really important thing. And emojis have become a really important thing because it adds color and flavor to text. I've got, by way of my background is in music, is in musicianship, in arranging and scoring. I actually, I have 7th grade musicianship. For those of you, why would you care? But what that means is that I'm qualified to arrange music for orchestras and put together arrangements and all of those sorts of things. That's what I love to do. Never that good at playing instruments, but I loved scoring. And I loved doing all of that and putting together arrangements and so on. And one of the things you've got when you are using music, of course, we've got all of these symbols, typically in Italian, of the way to convey to whoever's playing the music for the mood, the feeling. We've got adagio, we've got a mezzo piano, we've got the forte, we've got all of them, we've got mezzo forte, we've got all of these effectively signals. The words, the text, are the notes on the staff. But the colour, the flavour, the accenting and so on is all communicated through these symbols. And I think that's what texts and emoji and all these pictures and all that you see here on their page They've got an invisible ink feature on the new messages, which is quite hilarious. That's going to be extremely dangerous, where you can send a message or a photo that remains hidden, and then you actually can then swipe to reveal it. Wow, that's terrifying, really, when you think about all of that. Then we've got, you've got balloons for happy birthdays, and obviously all the Snapchat sort of things where people like all of those things. They're all of these are designed to convey an emotional message, where just dry text doesn't give you the tone of what's important. And if you're communicating with your friends, and if this is the number one way of communicating with friends, then this messaging, these images actually become really important. And also, emojis often, you get into these conversations where you don't know how to exit. It sort of goes on forever. You're texting each other and you just want to draw a full stop to the conversation. Often an emoji or a thumbs up is a fantastic way of ending a conversation gracefully. So they're important in all sorts of ways. And that, I suppose, brings us then to stickers. Now, what's a sticker? A sticker is an image that you can attach. They're very they're on Facebook Messenger. They're actually most common in Asia, and particularly Line. They haven't been so common in Western sort of United States, Australia, UK, etc. But they're about to become huge because Apple's going to make them available to 1 million devices. And here's the deal. Apple are opening up a app store specifically for messages, so you can create apps for messages. Why would you do that? Well, and by the way, everything I'm saying here now also applies identically to Google and to Facebook. They're all doing this. Why? Why are they doing it? Because they know that we spend so much of our time in our various messaging apps. So it makes sense to be able to add value during that time. And it's, stickers is hundreds of millions of dollars of business for messaging apps like Line. Again, you may think it's silly. That's fine. You think it's silly. But let me tell you, Joe and Jane Smith do not think this is silly, and you mark my words. The next little app gold rush will be sticker apps for messages. And so here on the Apple site, they've got a Disney one. What do they say here? Slap them on top of bubbles, dress up a photo, or even put on another sticker. Available in the new App Store for iMessage. And creating a sticker app for iMessage may well be the simplest programming task ever invented in human history. It is literally ridiculously easy. Now, honestly, here's the deal. The thing with stickers, and I'll just show these. If you go to the Apple developer site, you can see how to create stickers. They've got a guide. They've got a video there. They've got tips for creating the images. They've got a video showing how to build a sticker pack. It's literally a 5-minute programming task. It's actually a fun one if you've ever had a hankering to do programming to do. But here's my point. When you're doing stickers, and if you're thinking of doing, and I'm thinking of magcasters and scriptcast, if you've got a niche, that you're passionate about, be it kiteboarding, be it coffee, be it whatever it happens to be, piano stool restoration, then piano stool restoration nuts will love stickers to express emotions in their messages. It's like a thing that we do. Anybody who's unlucky enough to be on my messaging group knows that I am a huge sticker fan, and I love a Hello Kitty sticker. In fact, take my money, the first person who comes up with the Hello Kitty sticker pack. Can't wait for that one. But here's the deal. The trickiest thing for you in terms of designing the stickers is actually getting the stickers designed, because don't half-ass it. Don't make rubbish stickers. You need to spend the money getting somebody with real chops to design your stickers for you. Okay, that's important. Now, the cool thing is they can be animated. You can use APNG, which is the Photoshop animated format, or you can use good old animated GIFs for stickers. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to see what people come up with when they're doing that. And there's a guide here on the Apple developer site. There's creating stickers with motion. It shows you exactly how to do it. So for me, if you're considering do coffee stickers, or you're doing, whatever it happens to be, Western Bulldogs, oh, take my money, stickers, whatever you want to do. And by the way, what have been the biggest earners in the App Store this year? Yes, Kimoji. There's that Kim Kardashian stickers, don't judge. The Justin Bieber stickers. These are actually a great, and dare I use the word, branding opportunity, right? So it's crazy, right? That to me is quite extraordinary in and of itself as well. So it's super easy to say. Honestly, if a programmer charges you more than $20 to create your sticker app, you are being ripped off. Okay? That's the first thing I want you to know. 2, make sure that you don't half-ass the design, right? You're going to need to spend money on design, all right, to do that. 3, I think it's going to be a super fun, and by the way, don't give them away for free. Charge for them. This is a revenue opportunity for you. It's really exciting, and I think it's going to be a big deal. You can take it from me. I think this is going to be a really big deal and a really fun way of, I can't wait for some of my favorite podcasts to create stickers, because the ability to use stickers, and you can use them on photos. It's not only on the message app itself. You can use them all over the place. Seems silly, but let me tell you right now, folks, this is going to be a big deal. And I think people in niches who get onto them quickly, I mean, how important, and this goes to the greater topic, this is where we get serious about why, as marketers and people in online business or any sort of business, need to get serious about messaging and messaging apps. If you look at some of the messaging apps that they're creating, there's all sorts of things. You can book tickets, you can do all sorts of interesting things when it comes to these type of apps. Why? It's because where people are. Now, what do we know in direct marketing? Well, what do we know in direct marketing history? All right, is that the most effective direct marketing channels, and in other words, the method of communication that is most likely to get you to take action, something that's very important for us, has always followed but lagged the way we communicate with our best friend. So, what was the first direct marketing medium? Of course, it was letters, right? Because that's how we communicated to friends, right? And then the phone. How did we talked on the phone? So telemarketing became the most effective way of getting somebody to take action. Then, of course, email came on the scene, and eventually email became the thing, and to this day is the king of ways to communicate with your tribe to get them to take action. However, as I started off this broadcast, what did I say? What's the number one way you communicate with your friends right now? And yes, ding, 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 it's messages, right? It is messages. And you need to understand, make no mistake, that you need to start thinking about, not now, not in 6 months' time, not in a year's time, but who knows? You need to start thinking about how you can conduct your business through a messaging interface, because that is the way Joe and Jane Smith are going to be taking in a lot of their screen time on their mobile devices. Now, Apple, Google, Facebook are all making app stores and the ability for you to be able to utilize these tools. You've heard the talk about robots, and you've heard the talk about artificial intelligence, and you've talked about machine learning when it comes to messaging, all of those sorts of things. This is a big deal. So we know for a fact that push notifications, text messages for apps they absolutely will become the most effective direct marketing medium. It's a law of nature. It will happen. Not today, but it will happen. I told you a couple of episodes ago about Extraordinary Vision magazine and Angelo Ioannidis, who had 80,000 readers of his Extraordinary Vision. Unfortunately, he didn't collect any email addresses. He is doing that now. And he was faced with the fact, well, this is taking a lot of work and a lot of energy, and I'm not getting the revenue because he didn't collect his email addresses. So he was going to close it up. And he said this to his audience, and his audience were horrified. And so he decided to run a crowdfunding campaign. And of course, the only way he could communicate, because he didn't collect email addresses. Have you seen the collect email addresses? It's the most important thing. But here's the cool thing. He ran a crowdfunding campaign, and the only way he could communicate to those 80,000 tribe members was through push notifications, messaging. And guess what? He fully funded his campaign. So now his magazine, it's a great magazine too if you're into outdoor photography, is now fully funded by crowdfunding, which is awesome, right? Just brilliant. And he drove all the traffic for that crowdfunding campaign through his push notifications. So this, to me, you think, stickers, Ed, why are you talking about stickers? That's, kid stuff. It's not. And it's also an entree into understanding that messaging, push notifications for apps, messaging apps, setting up, and think about customer service as another vector for messaging. We're looking at the new public launch of Scrivcast, where it's going open to the public. And speaking of wonderful ways to get access to push notification, you're going to be able to try it out for free. And we have to build our entire customer service model around messaging and communicating, because people love. I don't know if you guys have ever. I've used it a couple of times recently, where you have the option to call up on the phone or use a chat box to get customer support. I've got to admit, I love the chat box. It seems to be much faster. You don't seem to be waiting, and you seem to get the job done. It works really, really well. And I'm not a fast typist or anything like that, but as people are used to doing business on their mobile, and the mobile being the number one gateway to online and to everywhere, messaging is crucial. Okay, so there we have it. That's my public service announcement. That's my messaging suggestion for have a think about it. It's a great intellectual exercise for you to think about. Creating this. How does messaging apply to your business? How does messaging apply to your niche? I think it has wonderful. There's some awesome opportunities when it comes to launches, all sorts of things. So there you have it. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk to you was about a couple of experiences I've had with workshops. And I had the chance to attend a small workshop with Dean Jackson and James Shremko up in Sydney the week before last, and went to Pro Blogger up on the Gold Coast. And if you get the chance in your niche or your market to get to a workshop or get to an online workshop or get to an event, it's so great because, we're a bit strange. If you're listening to this podcast, I love you to death, but we're strange, right? We're not, the civilians out there, they don't get what we do. And it's so wonderful to be able to get in a room with a group of people. And, it's funny, if you read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and he talks about the concept of masterminding and what happens when you get a group of people in the room with a good process, and the quality of the content and the ideas when you've got a great process. It's astounding. Like with Dean's workshop, we went through his 8 profit activators and looked at how they apply to each part of their business. And everybody in the room was able to contribute, and it was fascinating to get people to look at what I was doing and me be able to contribute with them. Just amazing ideas. It's really something that I encourage all of you to do. Now, in a incredibly vaguely disguised promotion, I should mention that at the end of October, on the 29th and 30th of October, I'm coming to San Diego to run a 2-day workshop, and we still have some seats available for San Diego. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, or if you're watching on stream or replay, you can see the place to go to sign up for the workshop is eddale.co/workshop-oct-2016. So workshop-oct-2016. I'm also coming to Orlando on the 5th and 6th of November, and I believe we will be having a very special guest. Dean Jackson will be popping in for our workshop in Orlando. So that's a really exciting special guest dropping in for our workshop as well in Orlando. So love if you can. We're spending 2 days. We're using a new technique, a new workshop technique, which just is fabulous at solving whatever your business issues are, whatever your planning issues are. It's a wonderful thing. We're also going to be talking about specifically, once you've built a list, what to do. And in particular, I want to focus on crowdfunding, because I just think it's an enormous opportunity for people. So if you do get the, if you are, if you can get to San Diego on the 29th and 30th of October, they are extremely competitively priced. And it's a wonderful, I'd love to see you there. And of course, Orlando on the 5th and 6th of November. So that's eddale.co/workshop-oct-2016. Love to see you there. It'd be awesome for you guys to come. Okay, let's bring me back here. Here we are. So let's have a look at some of our questions for this week. I'm going to bring them up here. And again, just encourage you, if you're watching live or anything, if you want to pop in a question, go for it. And at any time during the week, if you think of a question, you think, I'd love Ed's view on that, well, hit me up at live.eddale.co, which is fantastic. Now, one of the questions I got through during the week is, Ed, you mentioned private clients all the time. How do I become a private client? Well, look, if I do work individually on projects from time to time, so if if you've got a launch coming up and you want copy written, or you want the launch managed, like I just did for Nathan Chan and his very successful Instagram launch, or you want a business strategy session or come on site, shoot me an email to eddale@mac.com and let's talk. I do private consults, and more than happy to discuss that with people. So, if you just shoot me an email to my email address is the easiest way, eddale@mac.com. Yes, a Mac nerd through and through. And if you want me to perhaps come and do a workshop for your company or group, or work with you on a one-on-one basis, I am available. So there is that. Now, Mark asks here, I work for a Fortune 100 company as a consultant and have campaigned internally to develop an online brand at the individual level for those in my role. So I think what he's suggesting there is that, let me think of a corollary. So it's like newspapers promoting their individual journalists. So the journalists contribute to the market, to the newspaper, and you buy the newspaper. But often when newspapers are promoting, they're promoting popular journalists, be it sports journalists or opinion makers or whatever it happens to be. They tend to be the ones that are providing the market. But I first need to demonstrate it myself. A personal website's probably not an option, so I build out my profile at LinkedIn, and I'm not getting adequate response there. Is that the platform you'd recommend? How would you approach this challenge? Okay, so unfortunately, I don't know what Fortune 100 company specifically, or what category you're in, but I can ask. I can get you to give you some steps to think about this as a project. the first thing to ask yourself is, what's the objective here? What's the job to be done? What are you promoting? What's the thing that you want to move forward? What is the metric that you want to increase? That, to me, is where you need to start out with all of this, because there's no point just promoting yourselves for the sake of promoting yourselves. Now, there's a reason that newspapers do this, and there's a reason that a lot of companies promote individual employees, team members, job roles, etc. Because, let's face it, social media doesn't work from business to business anymore. It works from individual to individual. So it makes a lot more sense to work from person to person as opposed to product or niche to niche. It's just the way social media is set up. It's literally individual to individual. So that's the reason to experiment in this. So I suppose the first thing, Mark, that you need to think about is, why am I doing? What's the job to be done here? What's the metric? That's the start. Okay, figure that out. Then the next thing is to say, well, okay, if I have to move the needle in this particular metric, obviously you need to communicate with somebody. Okay, so you're targeting a particular market. What's the market that you're targeting? Then I would do some research and say, well, where are they at? Where are they at? Now, you went to LinkedIn first, and so maybe that's where your target audience is for this metric that you want to move. If that's the case, then you need to keep experimenting. But just have a look. Where are they at? Is it Facebook? Is it YouTube? Is it Twitter? What is it? That's the thing that you've got to ask yourself. Is it forums like Reddit, for example, or Facebook groups? There are so many different options for you to have a look at. And so, but for me, it comes back to first understanding why. Why are you doing this in the first place? It's effort and energy to create an individual profile as part of a corporation, template that, and then roll that out as a model. So why are you doing it? What's the metric you're trying to move, and what's the market that you're trying to target? That's, to me, is the big deal. And then overlaying all of that, of course, is classic 101 Dale work, which is pains, gains, and jobs to be done. Use your social media, use your individual profile to solve pains, increase gains, and show people how to do things. Show them how to get their jobs done. That is key. So whichever, if you're looking at it from the too many times, certainly not saying that you did this, Mark, but too many times when I look at social media and social media profiles, it's all about me, 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 me. It's all about what you want as the company, what you want as the marketer, as opposed to the marketee. And so many times, that is a huge issue. Okay, so for you, Mark, it's about, how can I use this social media to help solve people's pains? Show them how to get where they want to go. Show them how to do techniques, tactics, and strategies that they want to know about. If you are servant focused with your social media and your individual profiles, you'll get traction, and it takes time. It really does take time. Like, if you're looking at building a social media profile, have a 12-month view over it, because it's going to be worth it, but have a 12-month view over the whole thing. So hopefully, Mark, that's given you some ideas. Feel free to if you've got a follow-up question or anything, just drop it into live.eddale.co and we'll follow up. But those would be the things that I would be having a look at. Okay, what's our next one here? We've got Sheila says, why is procrastination the biggest problem? Tell us about it, right? It's it's a huge thing that everybody struggles with. But ultimately, procrastination is it's a multi-headed beast. We procrastinate because what we need to do is going to be hard, going to cause us pain. is going to expose us to potential failure, all of those things. So procrastination is your brain's way ultimately of saying, hey, let's just chill. Your brain just really wants you to be happy. And it knows whenever you stretch, whenever you expose your work, whenever you do something that is hard, you're stressing yourself. You're literally creating a stress on your body. And your brain doesn't want that as a general rule. So it throws up other things to do, stuff that's not important, Candy Crush or awesome Clash Royale or any of those things, to basically, it makes you happy. It gives you a distraction, and so the distractions are there. And sometimes you'll procrastinate in all sorts of things. Like I can always tell when my eldest daughter Hannah has exams because she's busy cleaning her room. Right? It's the only time. But that's part of the whole, that's procrastination. So there's a few different ways that you can tackle this. The key one that I have here, geez, I need a haircut. I've got a spiky hair today. Fortunately, if you're on the podcast, you don't have to see that. My Kanban board is how I fight procrastination. I've just reset it for the week. And I know that here's the thing. So the way I sort of look at it, I realize that you've got a certain amount of energy, right? And that energy peaks at particular times of day. So it makes total sense for the thing that's most important to do. Like we're relaunching Achiever Formula. I actually look out for that. A lot of people have been asking about Achiever Formula. And I need to reshoot the third video in that series. We want to tighten it up and add some things in there. So that's the most important thing that I've got to do. So I'm going to put that post-it note in my today column and focus on, and I'm just going to get that done. Because here's the thing. I know if whatever else happens, whatever else gets done, if I get that done, I've moved the ball forward. I've moved our business forward. And that's really important, right? And so for me, it's more thinking about what are the chunks of things that I can do and get them done. And I heartily recommend, if this is something you're struggling with, Achiever Formula or our Kanban for Entrepreneurs is a great way to solve that problem, because entrepreneurs in particular, we're hardwired. Well, 65% of us, I should say, 65% of us, including me, are squirrel. We are absolutely hardwired to be distracted, because that's part of our strength. Actually, is to see opportunities quickly and to see cool stuff and realize, oh, maybe I can use that to do that. That's a skill, right? However, when it comes to just nailing a piece of copy or, getting a video edited and out the door, those distractions can be deadly. So you need a way to manage that. And the one thing I do know now is that there is no one productivity system that works for everybody. If you've done your Colby Index and you're a high fact finder, high follow through, you can use those really ultra detailed to-do list software task management type stuff, because that's perfect for you. Whereas for me, it's a waste of time. I need something visual and in my face that I can't avoid. Otherwise, there's no 65% of entrepreneurs will love setting up a to-do app or a new to-do system or a new day planner or whatever it is. They love them all, love trying new systems, getting things done, whatever it happens to be. They never stick, because we're just not wired to follow through and look at these things on a daily basis. And so that's part of the challenges of being an entrepreneur. So to me, Sheila, it's very important for you to look at, I'd recommend you, if you haven't, take a Colby Index, Kolbe index. It's like $40, something like that. And it is such, nobody I've ever asked to take a Colby Index has gone, Ed, this sucks, that was a complete waste of time. It's an eye-opener, and it's all about, it's not measuring your IQ or your emotional intelligence, it's measuring how you act. The things that you will find much easier to do and the things that you will find harder to do. And it's eerily accurate. And what it does is it gives you then the ability to figure out what type of process. And feel free, if you do go and do it, here's the thing, drop your Colby number. And by the way, there's no bad scores in Colby. You just are who you are, right? There's no pass or fail or anything. Every score that you get is a fine score. It just helps you understand the things that you should be looking at, because there's this fundamental thing. And this is, you talk about procrastination, and actually this was a big topic at the Pro Blogger conference. So often, because of our schooling, because of our upbringing, we're taught to focus on where we're weak and to work on our weaknesses. Now, Kathy Colby, of course, was fantastic in pointing out that, look, it's crazy. You spend all that time and energy working on a weakness that will never be great, but you've got these incredible strengths that you can utilize, that you're already really, really, really good at, and you can utilize those. Because let's face it, there's never been a better time on this planet for you to be able to hire somebody on Fiverr to do tasks that you are not suited to. Never been a better time. And that's what's so exciting about this. So you can do that. So like I mentioned when we were talking stickers, right? There's two people. If you're a designer, then go for it. All right. If you are a programmer, you still need to get somebody to do the designing. Now, it's probably creating a sticker app for iOS is probably the easiest app task in human history. It's ridiculously simple for somebody who knows what they're doing. But please, don't go and think you're going to build the app yourself if you've never done programming before, even though it's super easy. But it's super easy for me because I understand programming, right? Now, I'm not going to design my stickers, am I? Because it may actually challenge stickers. There's an idea. I'm going to write that one down. Challenge stickers will be awesome. I'm not going to design those. I want to get a great illustrator. And good news, there are fantastic illustrators available at 99 Designs, at Fiverr, at Upwork. There's so many places to get good designers who can design great stickers for me. Some animated GIFs would be awesome, now I think about it. All of those things would be really, really cool. But here's the thing, I know my strength in this is telling you all about my sticker pack when I get the sticker pack that you'll be able to download, right? That'll be great. That's my technique. And maybe understanding the types of stickers. Like there's got to be a throwing the table over sticker. That's super crucial. And an angry sticker. And I know all the key emojis, a thumbs up type sticker. All of those things, right? That's what I know. I know what the market will want. But get somebody else to program it. And remember what I said, if anybody charges you more than $20 to program your sticker app, they're ripping you off, okay? Make sure you know that. Any high school student that is doing, is learning iOS app programming, after their third lesson, they'll be able to create these sticker apps, all right? So please don't get ripped off. Pay the money to get the animated GIFs and the design done because you want them to look good, because if they don't look great, they're going to not work at all. And they'll be negative for your brand as opposed to a positive. But that's the point, right? And I think procrastination comes from a place where people are, they're working on their weaknesses, hence they don't enjoy. They're expanding a huge amount of energy working on their weaknesses, like people who have an online business who get weighted down in technical stuff, for example. They think that they're the ones that have to install this WordPress plugin, that they're the ones that have to do that. Something that is a 5-minute task for somebody who knows what they're doing can be 3 days of stress and pain. And the trouble is, your fuel tank, your willpower fuel tank, is being drained at a huge rate when you're working on things that are not your strengths. And that's where we want to go. And there are so many things that you can get done now for a cup of coffee that it's crazy. So that, why is procrastination the biggest problem? It's all of those things. It's incredibly complex. And the key answer is there's not one methodology that is going to work for everybody to cure procrastination. And indeed, I don't think procrastination actually is, in some place, a really good thing. Like, it's really important. For example, I've started a meditation practice, and that's been amazing. From somebody who thought, the idea of leaving myself alone with my thoughts in my head for more than 2 minutes is terrifying. But it's amazing. I really look forward to it now, and it's something that I think has helped. I hope has helped a little bit. But to me, procrastination, program procrastination can be actually really good. When Gary Halbert finished a draft of his sales letter, he'd go for a drive, because he'd want that to let the subconscious work on the problem, not the conscious. And by procrastination can actually be a huge positive used correctly. But hopefully that's been of some use to you, Sheila. That's been useful. And again, if you do a Colby, please pop it in, and we can talk about. The great thing, when I'm working with private clients, I get them to take a Colby because it helps me make sure that I'm not assigning stuff like before I use Colby, and I've said this many times, but I would say to someone, "Oh, your market's YouTube. Oh, you've got to start a YouTube channel. It'd be awesome for you, YouTube channel." And I'd hear the client on the other side of the phone, and it'd be like, oh, "Okay, all right." And of course, they would rather slam an appendage in a car door than do video. It's just not in their skill set. And it turns out with Colby, you can tell very quickly whether somebody's going to have a aptitude for doing video. I'm super comfortable doing this, but when I have to write something, when I have to write an article, I've got to go through a whole process to trick myself into writing it because it's not my core strength. I figured out how to do that, but using Colby, you can figure out a way to do that. I use dictation, for example. That's how I get around it. So that, to me, is something that's really, really important. All right, folks, I think that is it for today. Thank you very much for being part of this broadcast. Awesome to have you all here. Thank you so much for being part of this. Hopefully it's been useful. Remember, as always, you can go to live.eddale.co at any time during the week, drop in a question there, and I'll do my best to answer it on an upcoming broadcast. Just a quick mention, of course, of my workshops that are coming up in the United States, 29th and 30th of October in San Diego, and the 5th and 6th of November in Orlando. You can get all the details of that at eddale.co/workshop-oct-2016. That's the URL to get details of my USA workshop. And if you do want to, if you'd like me to work with you on an individual basis, feel free to drop me a line, eddale@mac.com. Let's talk. If you've got a launch coming up, or you've got copywriting that needs to be done, or you want a strategic plan, or want me to come and speak to your team and run a workshop, hit me up. Let me know. eddale@mac.com. So with that, thank you very much. A big hello to everybody I ran into at Pro Blogger and at Dean's Workshop. Fantastic to catch up with a whole bunch of people. It's great to get outside occasionally. And that's all great. And most of all, good on you, Kenny. James said to say hello. So with that, all right. We'll see you all soon. Have a great week wherever you are. Enjoy it. It's iOS update week, iPhone 7 week, new Series 2 Apple Watch. How exciting. Nerd Christmas. All right, folks. We'll see you soon. Ciao for now.